What do you make of Keir Starmer's attacks on freedom of speech?
It's exactly what you'd expect from someone who holds his position. It's nothing new. I think in the UK, things have gone farther in the UK on what would you say, with regards to threats to freedom of expression than maybe anywhere in the West.
In his most recent interview, Jordan Peterson expressed strong criticism on the way British Prime Minister Keir Starmer handled free speech, therefore generating a tempest of arguments and discussion. Not unfamiliar with making audacious political declarations, Peterson asserted that the UK had curbed freedom of expression more than any other West nation had done.
And if the Labour gets in, and I can understand why the citizens of the UK are hungry for a change, if Labour gets in, it's like Venezuela, here we come.
His remarks have set off a domino effect, attracting criticism from some of the most eminent players in world affairs. Peterson's declaration, "It's exactly what you'd expect from someone who holds his position," forms the core of the attack. Nothing fresh here. For Peterson, Starmer's tactics reflect a rising trend in the West, whereby political leaders stifle open debate for electoral advantage instead of safeguarding the fundamental value.
I think it'll be catastrophic.
With leaders like Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and even tech entrepreneur Elon Musk coming in and challenging whether Starmer is the appropriate leader for the issues confronting Britain, the argument for free speech has galvanized voices from across political spectrum. Never one to hold back on a divisive topic, Musk was quick to express his displeasure and also spoke on the growing worries over Western free expression. These voices join in to criticize Starmer, pointing to the erasure of democratic values as worries about the once vibrant debates forming the basis of Western culture would become progressively quieted. The clamour is unmistakable. Something is changing, not only in Britain but throughout the West, at the junction of free speech leadership and geopolitics.
There's so much behind the scene tyrannizing going on in the name of hypothetical utopian progress that it's almost unimaginable. I mean, the CCTVs in the ULEZ zones are a great example of that, and everything that's happened in London under Sadiq Khan, who's like poster boy for ideologically addled globalist utopians.
It's nothing new, Jordan Peterson said in his most recent interview. 3 stinging words for Britain's leader that have already rocked the power corridors. Peterson's comments in an honest and unvarnished conversation on free speech and leadership have set off a frenzy reverberating much beyond the studio's confines. At the highest levels of British politics, a storm is building that might compromise not only the strategic posture of the country, but also its intellectual and cultural backbone. He even said since Nigel Farage and Kemi Badenoch are becoming more and more popular, they should create a coalition government.
Maybe as a coalition government, I'm not staking my, what would you say? I'm not, no, not on either candidate. I've spoken with Nigel Farage and with Kemi Badenoch, and they're both credible people, and they have to fight it out amongst themselves. But
Jordan Peterson has boldly foreseen in his most recent analysis of the political future of the UK that the nation will realign on the right, following the ideological change he noted in Canada. Peterson says that although the Conservative and Reform groups within the UK will eventually reform and combine to create a potent coalition government, they're sure to split momentarily. Peterson claims that this coalition might help to bring strength back to a political scene growing more fractured. According to him, this reorganisation process might be the secret to bringing the right together and guaranteeing Britain has the leadership required moving ahead. Peterson emphasises the legitimacy of well-known personalities such as Nigel Farage and Kemi Badenoch, both of which he has personally interacted with and met. Peterson thinks both of these political leaders are qualified and respectable even if he stopped short of choosing a side amongst them. The fundamental lesson here is that while internal rivalry inside the right is unavoidable, the outcome of this struggle might produce a more determined and strong conservative movement. With these numbers front and front, Peterson sees hope for Britain's political rehabilitation, since he believes that the right will finally unite to present a fresh vision for the nation, one that questions the status quo and fights for the preservation of classic democratic values. Peterson argues that this could be just what the UK requires during these turbulent years, for 9 seconds. Jordan Peterson recently foresaw the birth of a Conservative Reform coalition, therefore hinting at a radical change in the political scene of the United Kingdom. Making comparisons with Canadian events, Peterson said he expects the right wing will first split, go through a time of reform and finally unite, probably as a coalition administration. He cited conversations with well-known personalities such as Nigel Farage and Kemi Matnock, pointing out that although both are strong candidates, the present infighting is only a forerunner of a more cohesive and change conservative movement. This prediction challenges the current order and signals a possible comeback of conventional values and open communication, therefore supporting the idea that a major realignment is just around. This possible alliance contrasts sharply with the leadership approach of leaders such as Keir Starmer, who have been attacked for suppressing free expression and enforcing ideological restrictions. While some view Starmer's initiatives as symbolic of an overreaching, politically correct establishment, Peterson's forecast of a reformed right-wing alliance indicates an alternative road where strong discussion and a fresh commitment to free expression rule. According to Peterson, the ultimate convergence of conservative forces could not only change the strategic and cultural orientation of Britain, but also revitalise the public sphere with a dynamic, open flow of ideas, so enabling a significant change in the democratic framework of the country. At the core of this debate is a basic question. Is the United Kingdom at a crossroads, straddling between the preservation of old democratic liberties and the tempting appeal of politically motivated censorship? For many viewers, Peterson's harsh comments reflect a broader crisis, one in which the repression of dissent and the curtailment of free expression point to the degradation of a once vibrant public arena. Those who worry that the government of their country is caving into a political correctness culture that stifles real debate and creativity will find resonance in his statements. The outcry generated by Peterson's interview has not limited civilized political debate. Strong arguments have emerged on social media platforms between proponents of total free speech, praising Peterson as a prophetic voice in difficult times, and others charging him with oversimplification and ideological bias. Critics contend that his approach is typical of a divisive, too aggressive one that can itself fuel the polarization undermining positive communication. Still, one cannot dispute the seriousness of the issues brought out regardless of their position on them. In a country renowned for its strong history of free expression, the theory that British leadership might be straying towards authoritarian control sets off both fear and resentment. At the highest levels of foreign affairs, this argument over free expression entwines with more general issues of national sovereignty and world influence, like how powerful people like Donald Trump's economic policies and Elon Musk's unreserved rejection of accepted wisdom have sparked global debates. Peterson's remarks feed a fire far from under control inside Britain's boundaries. While Trump and Musk have made news with their own campaigns against what they characterize as the censorship industrial complex, Peterson's comments on Starmer have a distinct but justly important impact. They highlight a rising discomfort among leaders who start monitoring speech, in the name of preserving order or safeguarding society, risking compromising the same liberties that have defined the West historically. Peterson's criticism is not only a philosophical one, it also reflects actual policies and actions he believes have undermined the open public debate vital to a good democracy. Critics have read the Prime Minister's actions, ostensibly meant to counter hate speech and false information, as an overreach, a heavy-handed attempt to crush criticism instead than interact with it. For Peterson and those who share his worries, these practices reflect a leadership more focused on controlling the story than in promoting a strong market of ideas. Such a posture, in his view, not only goes against the ideals of a democratic society, but also reflects a larger failure of Western leadership in a time when strong moral voices are much sought for. The debate doesn't stop there. Although some have embraced Peterson's aggressive language, it has also spurred a flood of counter-arguments from inside the political establishment. Many Starmer supporters contend that, although maybe harsh to some, his measures are required in a time when hate speech and false information can proliferate via internet channels. They contend that in the hyper-connected world of today, the balance between safeguarding citizens and preserving freedom is significantly more sensitive than in the past, and that policies that seem to be limiting are really a required reaction to hitherto unheard-of problems. For Peterson and his supporters, however, this case simply emphasizes the danger of sacrificing free expression. They caution that reversing direction becomes more difficult once the systems of control are set in action, therefore eroding liberty that might have long-lasting effects on democracy as a whole. Other well-known voices who have long been critical of what they view as the softening of Western determination have also felt the stir from Peterson's words. Figures like Donald Trump, J.D. Vance and Elon Musk have all, in their own unique ways, questioned the received wisdom, each expressing a feeling that appeals to a sizable segment of the public, that the West is losing its edge, its determination to face difficult ideas head-on. These people have a similar thread, a deep-seated anxiety that the forces of political correctness and governmental control are undermining the fundamental values of free expression and individual liberty, even if their origins differ, and they often view many matters differently. Under this framework, Peterson's remarks on Starmer are both relevant and consistent with a larger conflict. They're a sobering reminder that the fight for free expression is a real problem influencing society governance, not only a theoretical argument. With its legendary past of supporting freedom and creativity, the United Kingdom finds itself at a turning point presently. On one side stands the history of open investigation and strong discussion, long the cornerstone of British democracy. Conversely, hovers the spectre of authoritarian control, a future in which the repression of dissent can become the standard rather than the exception. It is very evident from the discussion that Peterson's words appeal to someone. They have started fervent debates among common people who worry that their cherished liberties are under danger as well as in the hallways of political power. His criticism of Starmer is being hotly discussed in living rooms, on social media, and across opinion columns in big newspapers. Whether seen as a vital call to arms against increasing censorship or discounted as exaggerated rhetoric, his message has great power. More than merely a collision of personalities or policy differences, this momentous event in British politics reflects a larger intellectual struggle across countries and political philosophies. Leaders like Peterson's positions, as well as those of voices like Trump, Vance and Musk, expose a basic difference on what it means to lead in the current society. They compel us to face challenging issues about the nature of freedom in an era of global uncertainty, questions that directly touch the core of what it means to be a democratic society. Following this debate, the United Kingdom is not only struggling with domestic strife, but also under heavy examination from a worldwide community observing intently. Implications of the argument over free speech, national sovereignty and the function of the state in controlling public opinion go much beyond the British Isles. It addresses universal issues such as the conflict between liberty and order, the difficulty in juggling security with freedom, and the ongoing fight to preserve the free flow of ideas at a time of fast change and polarizing events. The consequences of Peterson's words will probably linger for some time as the storm clouds assemble over Britain's political terrain. In addition to causing a stir among his fans, his harsh criticism of Starmer's attitude to free speech has spurred a larger discussion on the direction of democratic government in a world growing more complicated. The defense of free expression is not only an abstract concept in these uncertain times, rather, it is a necessary, continuous struggle for the soul of contemporary civilization. Ultimately, the debate generated by Peterson's statements reminds us very much of the stakes involved. Whether in the hallowed halls of Parliament or on the international scene, the choices taken by today's leaders will define the course of our democracies and decide whether the forces of control progressively undermine or help to flourish the values of free speech and open debate. Standing at this pivotal point makes it abundantly evident that the fight for the right to express dissenting viewpoints, question the existing quo, and participate in honest communication will shape the nature of our countries for next generations. This is a deep time of reckoning, a call to review the values that support our way of life, not only a political struggle. The bravery to speak honestly and challenge authority is our best defense against tyranny in a society where every word and every concept can tip the scale between liberty and oppression. And the echoes of Peterson's statements warn us that the struggle for free expression is far from finished as the argument around Starmer's leadership heats on.